Okay, so the goal for this is the shadows, right?
Yes.
So we're gonna make a
And
layer.
highlights, I guess.
Cool.
Be specific.
Yeah. So I'll do one for shadows, one for highlights, and one for the tracing of the actual image. That's the wrong brush. That's gonna give me a texture. I've been using monoline to like not have any edges or anything to make sure the line is cohesive. So keeping the curve of what you have. So first thing you have to make sure you prioritize is just learning how to use the app. Can't really worry about anatomy because like that's a whole nother class, you know? Like you can't force, oh well, I'm gonna learn shading, anatomy, highlights, which is lighting. I'm learning all of this at the same time. No, like each drawing, just focus on one thing and it'll keep it to where you're kinda like taking your time and making a realistic expectation of yourself. So just taking this for what it is. If we were to take it and duplicate it, make one disappear. Then we'll start drawing.
I feel like you made it look so easy.
Well, did you watch my video? Thought we were cooler than that, homie.
I think I clicked on it and I started doing something else, to be honest.
That's deep. Gonna make a color, right? So the easiest way to do highlights and shadows, because there's so many ways. I have my own style that I've developed, but if we go for shadows, remember we're gonna have it on a separate layer in case we don't like it. Use the lines that you already have, but you're gonna have to figure out, well, where's the lighting coming from? Is it coming from this direction, straight on? And for that, you're actually gonna have to look into lighting and see, like, what does that mean? Or just practice what makes sense or what doesn't. Remember, I do stuff in red just so I can see it. So going from this curve to this curve, I'm gonna make a closed object. That's what I'm gonna call them from now on, closed objects. And this curve to this curve. Like I said, I didn't just make it straight, I added a little curve. I can make it curvier, like this. I'm just not gonna go outside the line, you know, like a kid coloring book. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna check my lines. Oh, where'd it go? It's not dropping. I don't know what's happening. Okay. Then let's just say there's a shadow here. And some stuff you're gonna have to like look at references to go like, well, what kind of lighting do I want on my drawings? What style do I want to kind of project here? Because all of us look for inspiration from something. Remember, this is just to show you the technique. It's not to say like, oh, you have to do it exactly like this. It's just a way, because it's kind of like a cartoony style of shading too. So if that's going to be my shadows, I'm going to make it black. Then I'm going to change the opacity. Oh, so you didn't watch none of the video. Okay then. So you hit this right here for adjustments. You hit saturation. And you turn it all the way down, the brightness to black. That pulls all the color out of it. Then you hit this. And remember this. You don't want it normal. You want the opacity to change a little bit. Let's put it right there. You use a similar technique for another layer. I'm going to do red again. I have another layer. I'll do the same thing, but just kind of like on the opposite side of where the shadows are. And these are going to be our highlights. And after so many layers, the iPad does start to mess up a little bit, and that's what that little glitch is, to where it's not dropping. I have such a large file that it's kind of glitching a little bit. I'm sure Apple will fix it in the update, and they'll just call it a whole new iPad. So you see, if the light's coming from this way, the shadow is going to be on this side. That means you can kind of highlight her here. And you turn your canvas so that way you can do everything in one stroke, and you can see your mistakes. And it's easier to make strokes going away from your body, just like if you're cutting potatoes or peeling a lemon. You want to go away from you. Erase this. Right? So if we were to do the complete opposite that we just did, so we go to hue and saturation, brightness. We turn the brightness all the way up on this, make it white. We'll have a similar effect when we go to the layer, change the opacity or opaqueness, or whatever you want to call it. Turn it down a little bit. There you have it. You got your highlights, some shadows. Now if you want to be funky with it, get cool, you can hit the saturation and start changing the color of it. If they're like when it was red, you could have made it yellow or anything. So if we go back to red, and this is all I do in my artwork, because I go, you know what, let me just play with it and see what do I really want this to look like. Give it some artistic flair. And you can still go in and change the translucence. Yeah.
Cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.